Welcome to Question Bank. In this video, I am going to discuss the questions those were asked in Assistant Engineer 2012 OPSC conducted by OPSC. This paper I was skipping because at that time the paper set off was totally different from the recent exam, and all of the course also changed now. So but due to request from the viewers, I am going to discuss the question. So this was the paper electrical engineering and I am going to discuss the questions. So first question is in a series RLC circuit, the RMS value of voltage across the resistor is 30 volt, across the inductor is 60 volt, and across the capacitor is 20 volt. The RMS supply voltage would be. So in this question given that this one is the resistor, this one is inductor and this one is capacitor are connected in series, and voltage across resistor is 30 volt RMS value, here 60 volt, and here this is 20 volt, and asking for this supply voltage. So here supply voltage V can be written as VR square, that means voltage across resistance, plus VL minus VC, that is voltage across inductor minus voltage across capacitor whole square and whole root over, and this will be 30 square plus 60 minus 20 whole square root over, and this will be 30 square plus 40 square, that means 50. So answer will be 50 volt RMS value, 50 volt RMS value. So this is the answer. So what I observed in these questions is I got many interesting questions. So please watch up to the end of this video. In this video I am going to discuss 50 questions. The whole question paper is consisting of 150 questions. Among them I am starting from question number 1 to 50 I am discussing in this video, and in the next video I will try to discuss all the rest 50 questions, and after that the third video will consist of rest the 50. So in this 3 video I am going to discuss all the questions those were asked in that exam. So as the exam is coming, so this may be helpful to you. So next question is the nodal equation for the circuit shown below for the branch R1. Here is the R1, and what is the nodal equation? So current is flowing in this direction. So what will be the nodal equation? Nodal equation will be E1 minus V1 by R1. This is the current, E1 minus V1 by R1. So here E1 minus V1 by R1, option D is the correct answer. In a particular AC circuit, the instantaneous value of voltage and current are given by V is equal to 220 sin 157t and I is equal to 5 sin 157t minus 5 by 3. The frequency and power factor of the circuit. So here voltage and current are given in terms of sine and phasor. So here omega is given to be 157, because the form is sine omega t. So here omega is 157. So what is omega? 2 pi f is the omega, is equal to 157, and what will it happen? F will be equal to 157 by 2 pi, and this will be 24.98 hertz. This will be equal to nearly equal to 25 hertz. So among C and D, one of the option will be answer. So now we will find out the power factor. So power factor, here the angle between voltage phasor and current phasor, it is pi by 3. Pi by 3 means, so what will be the power factor? Power factor will be cos of pi by 3 means 60 degree. So this will be 0.5, and here what is the main thing is current is lagging behind the voltage by pi by 3. This is why here minus sign is given. So we can write that power factor is 0.5 lag. So here answer will be option number C, that is 25 Hz and 0.5 lag. Next question is, what will be the phase angle between voltage and current phasors in a single phase AC series circuit having R is equal to 10 ohm, XL is equal to 20 ohm and XC is equal to 30 ohm when a supply voltage 220 volt 50 Hz is applied. So this is the question here, and here what are given? Resistance value, inductance value and capacitance value are given. So here this is 10 ohm, 20 ohm in terms of reactance, 30 ohm. So what will be the impedance? Impedance Z will be R plus J into XL minus XC. So this will be 20 minus 30 and unit is ohm. So here this will be 10 plus J 10 and this will be 10 minus, this is 10 minus J10, this is not plus, this is minus J10, and its magnitude is 10 root 2 angle 45 degree. What is the root 2 value? 1.414 into 10. So what will be its value? It will be 14.14 angle 45 degree. So we need not to calculate this one also. This is asking for what will be the phase angle between voltage and current phasor. So what will be the phase angle between voltage and current? This will be 45 degree, because if voltage phasor is angle of 0, then current will lag or lead. Here this will lead because this is capacitive. Circuit is capacitive, not purely capacitive. This is capacitive because capacitive reactance is higher than that of inductive reactance, and this is so current will lead the voltage by 45 degree. So here answer is 45 degree. Production of heat due to electric current is related to Ohm's law, Joule's law, Kelvin's law, Maxwell's law. So this is answer is Joule's law. This is Joule's law. Production of heat due to electric current. This is Joule's law. What is explaining Joule's law? Joule's law is explaining that heat energy produced in a conducting wire is directly proportional to heat energy produced in a conducting wire is directly proportional to square of current, directly proportional to resistance value of that wire, and directly proportional to the time for which the current is flowing. So what will be the answer? Answer will be H is equal to I square RT, and this is given by the Joule's law. Next question is, what would be the impedance of a circuit having resistance of 3 ohm, inductance of 8 ohm and capacitance of 4 ohm? So here similar question. So here R is given to be 3 ohm, XL given to be 8 ohm, XC is given to be 4 ohm. So what will be the impedance? Impedance will be R plus J XL minus XC. So this will be 3 plus J 8 minus 4, unit is ohm. So here this will be 3 plus j 4 ohm. So what will be the magnitude of this one? Magnitude will be 3 square plus 4 square root over, and this will be equal to 5. So here answer is 5. So what is the magnitude of impedance? Impedance is 5. Next question, question number 7. Question number 7 is given in 2 wattmeter method of power measurement. If 1 wattmeter shows negative reading, then power factor of the circuit is treated as. So in this question, this is very interesting question. I want to recall all the things regarding that 2 wattmeter method. So in case of 2 wattmeter method, so what is the reading of suppose wattmeter 1 and wattmeter 2 I am considering. What is the reading P1? Suppose P1 will be root 3 VI, and here V and I are the phase voltages. I am not considering the line voltages because I am not considering any star or delta connection. So I am directly writing that V and I, where V and I are the phase voltages. So VI cos 30 minus phi, 30 degree minus phi. This is one reading, 1 wattmeter reading, and another wattmeter reading will be P2, which will be equal to root 3 VI cos 30 degree plus phi. And what is the phi? Phi is the angle between voltage and current, that is the load angle to which I am measuring the wattage or the power. So what will be the total power consumed? Total power will be P, which will be equal to P1 plus P2. This is the true power or the real power, and we can also calculate that reactive power. And reactive power can be given like root 3 into P1 minus P2. So this is the thing. So in this we are getting the reactive power, that is VI sin phi, and real power, that is VI cos phi. So what will be the tan phi? Tan phi will be reactive power by real power. So this will be, so tan phi will be root 3 P1 minus P2 by P1 plus P2, and we can calculate from this reading, we can calculate what is the phi. Phi will be tan inverse of root 3 P1 minus P2 by P1 plus P2. These are the all concepts those we know about that two wattmeter method to measure wattage or the power of a 3-phase load. So here given in the question that if 1 wattmeter shows a negative reading, then power factor of that circuit. So I want to make a table, please consider this one. I want to make a table of this one. So here I will write down phi is the load angle, here is the cos phi means the power factor. P1 is the first wattmeter reading, P2 second wattmeter reading, P is the total power P1 plus P2, Q is the reactive power, Q means root 3 into P1 minus P2, and here is remark what I am going to given to this. So I will calculate all the values. Suppose here for what will be 90 degree, for 75 degree, 60 degree. This is the analysis. These things are not needed to answer the question. This is only for the understanding purpose. So I am explaining these things, how we can analyze that 2 wattmeter method for the power factor. For what type of a power factor, what will be the reading of wattmeter? So these values are lagging values, and I am changing the color for leading values, and all the same angle. This one is 30, this one is 45, this one is 60, 75 and 90. These all are angles. And what will be this one is leading load. So for leading and lagging, the power factor is same, only we have to add another term, that is lead or lag. So in power factor, because the cos value is changing from -1 to +1, but the angle, suppose this one is the voltage, phasor, and the current will lag, so this will be maximum lagging will be 90 degree for pure inductive loads, and this will be maximum leading of 90 degree for that pure capacitive loads. So the cos phi value, that is the power factor value, will change from 0 here to 1 here, and also 0 here. So 0 power factor leading and 0 power factor lagging in terms we generally express. So here what will be the power factors? Power factor here, this will be 0, here power factor will be here, this will be 0, and for 75 this will be 0.26, and this is nothing but the values, and for 60 this will be 0.5, for 45 0.707, and for 30 this will be 0.866, and for 15 degree this will be 0.97, and for 1 this will be 1, that means unit power factor. So what will be the P1 value? P1 value here is √3/2 VI, and what will be P2 value? This is minus √3/2 VI, this is the value. And what will be the P? P will be 0, Q will be 3 VI, and here remark is P1 is equal to minus P2. Similarly, if we calculate for this one, this will be 1.225 VI, and this will be minus 0.45 VI, and here this will be 0.77 VI, and here this will be 2.9 VI, and here also P1 is positive, P2 is negative. Similarly, for 60 degree of load angle, what will be the answer? Here this will be 1.5 VI, and here this will be 0. So what will be the total power? Total power will be 1.5 VI, and what is the reactive power? 2.6 VI, and here P1 will be equal to P2, and P is equal to P1 and P2 is equal to 0. Similarly, if we go downward, that means if we go downward, what will happen? The P1 value will be, suppose for 30 degree, here for 30 degree this is coming to be P1 will be equal to 2 P2, but according to the question we are considering here in the question, we are deviating from the question. First, here given that if 1 wattmeter shows negative reading, then the power factor of the circuit would be. So here look at this thing, here first 3 reading. So here from this point, from 60 degree at 60 degree 1 wattmeter reading is 0, and then if we increase the load angle 1 wattmeter will start show negative reading, and this same thing will occur in case of leading load also for the angle above 60 degree. So here for power factor angle greater than 60 degree or the power factor itself below 0.5, the 1 wattmeter will start to show negative reading. So here given that unity, this is not the answer, never will be this answer, and lagging leading, in both case this happens, the power factor above, the below 0.5 and power factor angle above 60 degree. So we will choose here the answers 0. For zero power factor always, for zero power factor like this, for zero power factor here always we are seeing that 1 wattmeter is showing negative reading, and similar will happen for the this 90 degree, and here power factor will be also 0, and here 1 wattmeter will show negative reading, 1 wattmeter will show negative reading. So the next question, for signal xt shown in the figure, what would be the derivative dxt by dt? What would be the derivative of this signal? So here this part, for this part from 0 to 1, I am writing for 0 to 1 xt is equal to t, because slope is 1. Why slope is 1? Slope is because 1 minus 1, and slope formula is generally y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. This is the 2D from 2D in 12th class. 2D formula y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. So this is here we are getting this slope is 1, and for 1 to 2, for the t value of 1 to 2, what will the xt value? Xt value is minus t, because here slope is minus 1. How I am getting slope is minus 1? Here the point is 2 0, and here the another point is 1 1, and this will be 0 minus 1 y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. So this will be minus 1. So here slope is minus t. So now here I am defining the function. So what will be the derivative value for this part? What will be the derivative value for ramp signal? What will be the derivative value? Derivative value will be step input. So for this one, step value will be dxt by dt value will be 1, and for this part dxt by dt will be minus 1, and this will be step value. So answer is option A. For this one, this part from 0 to 1 this is 1, from 1 to 2 this is minus 1. All rest options are incorrect. Next question is question number 9. For given signal x of t is equal to e to the power minus at u of t, what would be the Laplace transform? So here Laplace transform is asking, and here for ut, what is the Laplace transform? This is 1 by s, and for e to the power minus at is multiplied. That means frequency shifting. This is called the frequency shifting. In terms of time, if we multiply e to the power something, then in the frequency domain this will be shifted. So what will be the answer? Answer will be 1 by s plus a. So this is the answer, 1 by s plus a. Here there should be a bracket. So answer is option C. The phenomena of creeping occurs in. So creeping occurs in energy meter. Energy meter. So creeping, what is creeping? In which an aluminum disc is provided which rotates continuously to record the energy consumption, because energy meter is an integrated type of instrument. So in case of energy meter, due to that aluminum disc, creeping phenomena occurs. So what is then creeping? Creeping is that disc, when that disc revolves although there is no current in the current coil. So then this will be called as the creeping phenomena. So what are the causes of creeping? First cause is excessive lubrication. Second one is strong magnetic field, strong stray magnetic field. If there are external magnetic field near the energy meter, then this will start to rotate even when there will be no current in the current coil. That means no load is drawing the current. Another thing is vibration. Over voltage, and excessive static friction compensation. So these are the causes of creeping. And how we can eliminate that creeping? We have to punch holes or drill holes on that disc so that it will avoid that creeping. This is only the first method to elimination of creeping. And the second method is small iron pieces are to be arranged on the edge of that disc. These two methods can be used to eliminate creeping in an energy meter. Next question is, an electrodynamic wattmeter is not considered suitable for low power factor circuit because of, and here options are inductance of voltage coil, reactance of current coil, power loss in voltage coil. Option D is power loss in current coil. So here answer is due to inductance of voltage coil. So why not other answers? So here reactance of current coil is generally considered and along with the load. So this is not the answer. Next is power loss in voltage coil. I am explaining later in this part. And fourth one is power loss is in current coil. So resistance of current coil is very low, hence power loss is neglected and it has no concern with the power factor of that load, because power loss is generally considered for the real power and this has no effect for the power factor of that load. So let's have the proper explanation why this one is the answer. So this one is the circuit diagram for so this is the circuit diagram for a electrodynamometer type wattmeter. So this is RPC, means pressure coil or potential coil, and this is current coil inductance, and this is current coil resistance, and this one is load. So in PC, that means the potential coil in PC, the inductance is very low and resistance is very high. This resistance is very high and this is very low. So IPC is small, that means this current IPC, that means current through the pressure coil or the potential coil is very small, but it makes angle beta with phase voltage. Suppose the voltage here applied VPH. So suppose this one is VPH and this will make angle, this one is suppose the IL load current, and load current is making phi, then it will make beta. This is IPC, and this due to this one so power consumption and power reading by the wattmeter will differ. So what will be the power measurement? Power measurement will be PM, measured power value will be different, that is IL load current into V phase cos beta into cos phi minus beta. What should be the power reading? The correct power reading is V phase IL cos phi, that should be the reading. But what is the reading now? Reading is one thing here, this one is multiplied, another thing is here there should be cos phi only, but here cos phi minus beta. So this reading becomes positive, sorry, the error due to this becomes positive and negative both values, and for positive for lagging loads and negative for leading loads. Next thing is that, and what is the error value? And this error is inversely proportional to cos phi. Cos phi is the power factor of load, and this error is inversely proportional to cos phi. That means if power factor of the load increases, error will decrease. So for low power factor, error will be maximum. For low power factor, error will be maximum. Why? This is why for low power factor loads, generally electrodynamometer type instrument are not considered. This is the answer. Why? Because error due to the inductance of the pressure coil or the potential coil is maximum at lower power factor. This is why this is not considered. And what can be used to make this error small? First thing is pressure coil should be connected in load side. Pressure coil should be connected in load side. First thing. Second thing is RPC, that means resistance of pressure coil should be low to increase the torque of that machine. And the third one is, or a capacitor can be connected across the RPC to compensate the error. Here we can, first thing, this thing we can shift this time to this place, or next is RPC should be low, this value should be very low, this value should be low to increase the torque. Or third thing is we can connect here a capacitor which can compensate the error due to that inductance. Next question is question number 12. The internal resistance of an ideal voltage source is. So what is the internal resistance of an ideal voltage source? This is infinite. The Nyquist plot for positive frequencies of an open loop transfer function is as shown below. The gain margin would be. So here the gain margin is asking, and now the plot is not encircling the point -1. Here I will zoom here. The point here, the plot is going like this, and this point is -0.2. That means -1 is like here, -1 0, -1 is like here. So this is not encircling, -1. That means this is in stable condition. If this will encircle -1, then this will be unstable. And if we multiply some value, suppose x, suppose if we multiply with -0 suppose a value x to make it -1, so what is the value will be? So this is -2/10 into x will be -1. So what will be this value? So what will be this value? This value will be x will be equal to -1 into 10/2 -2. So this will be 5. So if we multiply 5, to this value, it will goes up to here. It will be like this. So 5 is the gain margin. So 5 is the gain margin of this plot. This is the understanding purpose. This is for only the understanding purpose. So what is here the gain margin? Gain margin is 5. So you can calculate this one like 1 by 0.2. 1 by 0.2. This is the answer. And this one is the understanding purpose I am given. And so here this is asking for only the gain margin, not the gain margin in terms of decibel. If asking for the gain margin in case of decibel, so what will be the answer? Answer will be 20 log 5. 5 is the gain margin in terms of magnitude term. So this will be nearly equal to 14 dB decibel. Next, if the question is asking for the phase margin, so what will happen? So I am zooming this one. What will be the phase margin? Suppose this point is -1, and I am making a circle like this. Suppose this one is the -1 circle. This point is -1. So now here the Nyquist plot is crossing -1 circle here. So I will draw a line like this. I will draw a line, and now this line is making angle of suppose let this angle is suppose phi, and if we decrease the phi angle to 0, this will go clockwise, and if we decrease this angle phi to 0, what will happen? This plot will cross -1, and this will be like this, and this angle will be 0. Phi will be 0. So if phi is equal to 0, then this will be unstable. So what will be the phase margin? Phase margin is phi. That means if in the question there is something given that it is crossing the -1, suppose this one is the -1 crossing, and this angle is given, then this angle will be the phase margin. Next question is, which of the following insulator is used for high frequency applications? Option A steelite, option B forsterite, option C bakelite, and option D is porcelain. So here this one is not steelite, this is steatite. So now we will see the high frequency application. That means if we consider the loss factor, I have already explained in many videos what is the loss factor and what is the dielectric constant in terms of complex dielectric permittivity. So tan delta value generally follows this path, that means, and this is the frequency log frequency. That means if frequency increases gradually from initial value, the tan delta will be higher and then it will decrease at the mid frequency, and at the higher frequency this will be higher value. So at higher frequencies the tan delta value is generally high. So we will consider for this dielectrics or the insulators what is the tan delta value, because for high frequency applications tan delta is most important thing, both tan delta and the dielectric constant also. I am now recalling that one. Dielectric permittivity in terms of complex permittivity is given like epsilon prime plus j epsilon double prime. Here epsilon prime is the relative permittivity and epsilon double prime is the loss, and here tan delta is epsilon double prime by epsilon prime, and this is the dissipation factor or the loss tangent of a dielectric or an insulator material. So now this is the table. I have collected this table from the book, textbook Naidu Kamaraju. This is the high voltage engineering book. This is a standard book which is followed in all Indian institutes, and here this is given that low tension porcelain, high tension porcelain, low loss steatite and alumina, and last one is forsterite. So here in this option what are the given? One thing is steatite, next is forsterite, bakelite is a polymer, is a thermosetting polymer, so it has no comparison with these things. So last, because these are all here bakelite is a thermosetting polymer, but all these steatite, forsterite and porcelain, these are ceramics. So always the ceramics are having the highest dielectric constant and low loss in comparison to that of polymers. So now we will consider these three things here: low tension porcelain, high tension porcelain, and alumina is not given. Alumina is generally Al2O3 or such like things, and these are used for high temperature furnaces. So here given that consider the dielectric strength kV per mm. That means if we increase the voltage for a mm thickness of that material above this value, then this will be breakdown, there will be the breakdown. So here which is having the maximum dielectric strength? Forsterite is having, here it is having the highest dielectric strength 25, this one is having the 8 to 25, this is having the 16, and there is 8 to 12. Dielectric strength is okay, but here dielectric constant, consider the dielectric constant. Dielectric constant is here dielectric constant is here, for this one is 6 and all this, for this one is 9 for alumina, but here in this question alumina is not given, so we will not consider this one. So this is having the here highest, that means it is also having 6, it is also having 6. and then comes the tan delta. Here given that tan delta into 10 to the power 4, tan delta into 10 to the power 4 value is given. Here maximum is 100, maximum is 200, here 10, 5 and 3 to 4. So here this is having the minimum loss. So at higher frequencies only tan delta is having the higher value, so this is having the low loss. This is having the low loss and higher dielectric constant among these options. So Fosterite is the correct answer. Fosterite is the correct answer for this question, because this is having higher dielectric constant or the relative permittivity and low loss, and these all things are considered at constant frequency. Here frequency is not mentioned, and we have to mention that frequency. Suppose at 100 kilohertz or 1 kilohertz, so we have to mention the frequency. Next question is, what would be the time taken by current to reach half of its final value in coil having R is equal to 10 ohm, L is equal to 10 Henry when a DC voltage of 100 volt is applied? So here I will use the general formula. What is the general formula? Current through the inductor at time t depending upon the time is equal to IL infinity plus IL, that means this is the final value plus initial value minus final value into e to the power minus t by tau. This is only to recall. So here what is the initial value? What is the initial value? Initial value is 0 as the inductor is charging. So what will be the final value? Final value will be 10 ampere, because here at final L will be short circuited, and R will be there. So 100 volt by R is 10, that means 10 ampere. So this is the final value. So what is tau? Tau is the time constant which is given by L by R, which is equal to 1, because these values are given 10. And now the formula becomes IL of t is equal to 10 plus 0 minus 10 into e to the power minus t. This is the formula, and the formula is reduced to be 10 into 1 minus e to the power minus t. You have to remember this formula, that is IL of t is equal to final value into 1 minus e to the power minus t by tau. This is the formula, and this is the general formula, so I have written for the recall. So now given that we have to find out, we have to get the 50% of that value. So this current will be 50%, that means 5 is equal to 10 into 1 minus e to the power minus t, and this will be half is equal to 1 minus e to the power minus t, and here e to the power minus t is equal to half, and minus t will be equal to ln 0.5, and the value will be t value will be 0.693 second. Here this will be 0.693 seconds. So here option A is the correct answer. Question number 16. In the following BH loop for the given magnetic material, the points indicated by P and Q represents respectively. So here what is P is representing the retentivity and Q is representing the coercivity. So here answer is P and Q, so retentivity and coercivity. But here in case of this type of plots, here saturation is also same like that retentivity, because in plots generally like this, in case of this, saturation is in this level and retentivity in this level, but in this case it seems to be the saturation polarization is equal to the remnant polarization or the retentivity, but here there is no option that saturation and cohesive. So here option will be this one. Here this is given saturation, but along with the saturation this is retentivity is given to Q, but this is Q is the cohesive field. So here this one is will be the answer. So next question number 17. Out of the roots of the characteristic equation of the several systems given below, which combination represents marginally stable? So for marginally stable, the roots are to be on the imaginary axis or the j omega axis. So in the first, this point is not j omega axis and this is not on the j omega axis. So this is stable, because -1 means this is all the left side. So next thing is -2 plus j3, -2 minus j3 and -2, these all three roots are in the left side. So this is also not the marginal stable condition. Here -j plus j -1, that means -j and plus j are on the on the j omega axis, plus j, and here this will be -j. So this option C represents marginal stable. Option D also is having the roots, those are present on the marginal the j omega axis or the imaginary axis. What are those? 2j and -2j. So option D is also the correct answer. In this question, both C and D are the correct answer. Which of the following is not a nonlinear element? Diode, transistor, heater coil, none of the above. So here heater coil is not a nonlinear element, because this is a linear element, because resistance is considered for heater coil. In case of diode, current is not following the linear path, and also in case of transistor the same case. Next question is, a unit feedback system has open loop transfer function given by Gs is equal to 25 by s square plus 8s, damping ratio and percentage peak overshoot for the system response will be. So here Gs given, so what will be the characteristic equation? Characteristic equation will be s square plus 8s plus 25 will be equal to 0, and here omega n square is equal to 25, because this format is a square plus 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square is equal to 0. This is the format, and so omega n square will be equal to the 25, and what will be the omega n value? Omega n value will be 5. So 2 zeta omega n will be 8, and here 2 into 5 into zeta is equal to 8, and zeta will be 0.8. So now what is the given? That damping ratio and peak overshoot. So here 0.8 is the damping ratio, here nothing is given. So these options are also wrongly given. So now we will find the MP, that is the maximum peak overshoot, percentage maximum peak overshoot, and this its formula is exponential of minus zeta pi by 1 minus zeta square root over. This is the formula. So what will be the answer? Exponential of minus 0.8 into pi by 1 minus 0.8 square root over into 100. I am writing direct it to be 1.5%, and here there is no 1.5%. suppose this one is yes, there is 0.5%, and here also there is 0.5%, sorry 1.5%, 1.5%, but zeta value is not given. I think this one is 0.8, this one is given 0.5, so but this should be 0.8, because if we consider the MP formula, there this is only depending upon the zeta, and if we put zeta values, those are given in the options, no zeta value will satisfy their respective MP values or the maximum peak overshoot. If we put 0.99 at the place of zeta, this will not result 0.15, because 0.8 is satisfying with 0.15. and if we put 0.25 at the place of zeta in the formula of MP percentage, it will not give you 0.5 MP. So these all the combination of the options are wrong. So correct answer is the 0.8 for zeta value and 1.5 percentage is for the maximum peak overshoot. Next question is, a rectified sine wave is clipped at 1/2 of its peak value as shown in the figure below. What would be the RMS value of the clipped wave over a full cycle? So for this one we have to use the conventional method, that is the integration. So here what will be the angle here? What will be the angle here? We have to first find out what is the angle here and here. So here theta means 50 degree is equal to 100 sin theta, 100 sin theta or omega t. I am writing it to be theta. So this will be, what will be the theta value? Theta sin theta will be half, and what will be the for what value sin theta will be half? This will be theta value will be 30 degree, or this will be pi by 6. So this is pi by 6, that means 30 degree, and this is 5 pi by 6, 5 pi by 6, that means 150 degree. These values we know. So we can now apply the integration, that is RMS value. RMS value will be, RMS formula is RMS value formula is root of mean of a square, that means 1 by pi by 6, this is for the averaging or the mean value, 0 to pi by 6, 100 square sin square theta d theta. In the place of omega t I am writing theta, plus 1 by 5 pi by 6, 1 by 5 pi by 6 minus, this is not 5 pi by 6 minus, here the interval will be, for this part I have completed this part, and for this part this will be 5 pi by 6 minus pi by 6, that means 4 pi by 6. 4 pi by 6 means 2 pi by 3. This will be 2 pi by 3. So 1 by 2 pi by 3 integration from pi by 6 to 5 pi by 6. 5 pi by 6, this is 50 square d theta, plus 1 by pi by 6, 1 by pi by 6, this is the interval, integration from 5 pi by 6 to pi, and here this is the same, 100 square sin square theta d theta. So and the whole to the power half, that means root of a mean of square, this is due to the mean value. And if we calculate this one, I am not calculating here, if we calculate this one, we will get the value to be 65.03 or 65.1. So here we can choose the option to be A, 66.66, because this is the nearest value. So next question is, a load cell essentially represents thermocouple, thermistor, photoconductive device and strain gauge. This is strain gauge, and the load cell generally converts force to a electrical signal, electrical output it gives. Hall effect transducer can generally used for measuring of magnetic field, current, electric field and pressure. This is generally for magnetic field. So option A is the correct answer. It also detects the current or measures the current, but the effect is indirect method. So here answer will be the magnetic field. So the next question is, in a root locus plot, if the number of poles and number of zeros are indicated by x and y respectively, the angle of asymptote is represented by. So if number of pole is x and number of zero is y, then the angle of asymptote is represented by theta is equal to 2q plus 1 by x minus y, that means into pi. So that means this will be an odd number into pi by x minus y. So this will be the answer, but in these options there is no odd number into pi. So here answer will be option B, but this is wrong ethically, because here there is 2 pi. So there should be 3 pi or 5 pi, such terms should not be there, 2 pi. Next question is, the reading of wattmeter in no load test of induction motor gives option A, friction and windage loss, option B, copper losses on no load in the stator, option C, core losses, option D, sum of all losses. So here answer is sum of all losses, because the reading of wattmeter in no load test of induction motor gives mechanical loss, that is the friction and windage loss, plus the copper loss on the no load in the starters also gives, and the core loss, also the core loss in the starter. So this is the sum of all losses. Next question is, the expansion of two voltage phases are given by V1 is equal to 47 sin theta and V2 is equal to 33 sin theta plus 20 degree respectively. Find the phasor sum of two by selecting the correct answer. So here suppose V1, here this one is V1 because the phase angle is 0, V1, and this is 47. I can also use the RMS part, that means 47 by root 2. Next is, because here answer is given in terms of maximum values, so I am using the maximum values, but in case of phasor always we use the RMS value. Next one is 20 degree, that is V2. Here this one is V2 and its value is 33 and the angle in between them is 20 degree. So what will be the sum of V1 and V2? We can apply directly the vector sum. That means if this one is the sum, then this will be like this, that is this is in between them, and suppose I am writing it to be V, and V is given as V1 square plus v2 square plus 2v1 v2 cos phi. This is the formula, and if we put the values, it will be around 78.82 volt. I am not calculating here. And next thing is angle. At how much angle it is acting upon V1. From V1, what is this angle? Suppose this angle is suppose delta. So what will be the delta angle? So delta angle can be given by simply tan delta is given to be V2 sin phi by V1 plus V2 cos phi. This is the angle formula, and tan will be delta will be tan inverse of this term. So we are getting the angle to be around 8.2 degree. We are getting angle to be 8.2 degree. So look at this thing. There is no 8.2 degree here. 78.8 I can consider it to be 77 or 80 also, but there is no angle which is equal to or nearly equal to 8 degree. Here 20 and 12 are given. So I can write that suppose this one is 0, this V1 is 0 angle, and V2 is angle 20. So V will be always in between them. That means V will be in between 0 to 20. So what is the 0 to 20? And that will be in positive, because this angle is positive. I am considering because this is 20 plus 20. So here V angle will be plus the theta value which is positive and in between 0 to 20. So what is the value? Value is D, that is plus 12, because it cannot be minus 12. Minus 12 means here, and answer will never be here. So, and minus 20 is here, minus 20 will be here, and this is also not possible. And next thing is minus plus 20 is along the V2, and answer, that is the resultant of V1 V2, will never be along V2. So here I am choosing the answer to be this much. Without any calculation we can choose this one. So these calculations are valueless in this question. Next question is, two impedances are given. Z1 is equal to 30 plus J40 ohm and Z2 is equal to 30 minus J40 ohm respectively. If two impedances are connected in parallel, the equivalent impedance of the combination would be. So here two impedances are connected in parallel. So I can write the parallel equation. Suppose Z is equal to Z1 into Z2 by Z1 plus Z2. So this will be 30 minus plus J40 into 30 minus J40 by addition 30 plus J40 plus 30 minus J40, and here this will be cancelled out. And if we calculate this one, this will be around, not around, finally equal to 41.67, and that to be the 40 plus 0 J. That means this is a real value, not a complex value. And look at this options, there is no real value. All are the complex values and no accurate answer is given. So in this question also there is no correct options. Next question is, which of the following are available in the depletion layer of a PN junction diode? Option A, free mobile electrons only, free mobile holes only, both free mobile electrons and holes, neither free mobile electron or holes. So here this is neither free mobile electron or holes, because this is the definition of depletion layer. In case of depletion layer, suppose this one is the PN junction, here is the junction, and this one is P side and this one is N side. This PN junction is formed during the making of the junction diode, and this depletion layer, in this depletion layer, depletion means reduced to zero. So in this depletion layer there will be no mobile electron or holes. Next question is, addition of a pole to the open loop transfer function has the effect of option A, pulling the root locus to left, pulling the root locus to right. Either option A or B does not have any effect on the root locus. So here addition of a pole to the open loop transfer function. Suppose I am taking the open loop transfer function, suppose GS HS, here HS is 1, that means unity feedback system. Suppose I am taking to be K by S into S plus 2. So here this is the transfer function, open loop transfer function, and its root locus is like this. Root locus is like this. First there are two poles, one is at 0 and another is at -2. So here suppose this one is -2 and here this is 0. So these are the two poles, and what is the root locus to be? Root locus to be like this. Root locus to be, here it will be up to -1, this will go this way, and here this will go like this, and this will go like this. So root locus is like this. And what are the angles? Angles are, asymptote angles are 90 and 270. One is 90, another one is 270. One is 90 and another one is 270 angle. So now here if we increase a pole, that means we will add a pole. Suppose next time we are adding K by S into S plus 2. This is the previous, and we are adding a pole S plus 4. That means another pole, that is S equal to -4, is added now. So what will happen? So this is the corresponding root locus. Here one pole at 0, another pole at -2, another pole at -4. So what will be the angles of root locus? I am not calculating in detail, but I am only indicating what happens. So what will be the angles? Angles will be, here angles are 90 to 70, and as here three poles, we will be see the angles to be angles of asymptote. N is equal to 3, that means number of poles minus number of zeros are 3. So this will be, theta will be here 60 degree, 180 degree and 30 degree. So now we will see how is the root locus. So at 4 root locus will be direct to infinite from that point, so this will be like this, away from the pole towards infinite. This is 180 degree. This is 180 degree. So this is not 30, this is 300 degree. And now this is 180 degree. 180 degree is this one, and another two remaining angles are 60 and 300 degree. This will be from this and from this, and this will be like this, and arrow marks will be like this. And this point is, as here this one is -1, here the point will be minus 0.84, meeting point of the asymptotes. So now what we have seen, this is pulling. If we add a additional pole to the open loop transfer function, it will pull the root locus towards the right. That means here this one is -1 and here this one is minus 0.84, and this is crossing the imaginary axis and going towards the right half. So this is pulling the root locus to the right, and system becomes less stable. If 0 is added, so here answer is pulling towards the right. Option B is the correct answer. If question is asking for if 0 is added to open loop transfer function, then what will happen? If 0 is added, the root locus shifts towards the left and system becomes more stable. Next question is, if two corner frequencies, the corner frequencies of the lead networks are. So here we have to consider the lead network to be the phase lead compensator. In case of phase lead compensator, transfer function is given to be s plus 1 by t by s plus 1 by alpha t, and here alpha is always smaller than 1, and for example I am writing it to be s plus 2 by s plus 5. This is the transfer function. And what are the corner frequencies? Here corner frequencies are 1 by t and 1 by alpha t, like 2, 5. These are the corner frequencies. So what will be the Bode plot? These are directly available. I am only representing this one. This is the magnitude Bode plot, AM dV, magnitude in decibel, and this is omega axis. This one is for phase Bode plot, omega. And because we have to take the Bode plot for establishing the relation between gain crossover frequency and two corner frequencies. Here corner frequencies are these are the corner frequencies, and we have to find out what is the gain crossover frequency and how it is related, smaller than or greater than or in between the corner frequencies. So this one is the phase angle plot. Phase angle I am writing it to be phase. Now what will be this one is suppose 1 by t, and this will be 1 by alpha t. So now the Bode plot will be, you can see in any book how this Bode plot is occurring, but I am only drawing the Bode plot. Bode plot will be like this up to this, and this will be straight. Bode plot is like this, and this is 20 dB per decade. This is very simple also, 20 dB per decade. So now look at this phase plot. Phase plot will be like this. This is suppose the middle point. Phase plot will be like, and this one is 1 by t and this one is 1 by alpha t. Phase plot will be like, and actual plot will be like this. So now look at this magnitude plot. So what is the gain crossover frequency? gain crossover frequency is the frequency at which magnitude plot crosses 0 dB line or the unity line, because 0 dB means 20 log 1 is always 0. So magnitude should be 1, and here as we are considering the dB line, that means decibel line, we should consider the 0 dB line, that means 0 dB line. So here this point is 0 dB line. So how it is crossing, at which point the magnitude plot is crossing the 0 dB line is called the gain crossover frequency. So here magnitude plot touches unity or 0 dB line at 1 by t. So if you will see here, this is decreasing and here touching, not crossing, and here going along with it, along with the 0 dB line, going along with the 0 dB line. So it may cross in below 1 by t, So we can consider this one to be either the gain crossover frequency is 1 by t or below 1 by t, not in between 1 by t and 1 by alpha t, or greater than both. So from the options we can choose that less than the gain crossover frequency. Here given that two corner frequencies of the lead network. So we can say that gain crossover frequency is always less than the corner frequencies, or alternatively the corner frequencies are always greater than the gain crossover frequency. So here option B we can choose that corner frequencies are always greater than that of gain crossover frequency. If a system which is treated with a phase lead compensator, I am giving the extra knowledge that if we treat a system with a phase lead system, generally the gain margin increases. So next question number 30. Question number 30 is given. In the given figure, three resistances X is equal to 1 ohm, Y is equal to 2 ohm, Z is equal to 3 ohm are connected in delta fashion. If resistance PQR represents the equivalent star network of the given delta network, then highest value of resistance in the star network is given by. So this is generally the star delta conversion. So how P can be represented? P can be represented as 1 cross 2, 1 into 2, this one into this one by total, that means 1 plus 2 plus 3. So that will be 1 by 3, and Q will be 1 into 3, this much. So here we will consider X into Z by X plus Y plus Z. So this will be 6. So this will be 1 by 2. And what will be the R value? For R value we have to consider Z and Y. So this will be Z into Y. Z into Y means 2 into 3 by 6. This is equal to 1. So what is the highest resistance? Highest resistance is R equal to 1 ohm. R is equal to 1 ohm. In the time domain, the speed of response is measured in terms of what? So option A is given resonant peak MR or phase margin 5 pm. Option B is resonant frequency omega R or bandwidth omega B. Option C damping factor zeta or peak overshoot MP. Option D rise time or settling time. So speed of system means we have to consider the time. So here answer is rise time or settling time. So here resonant peak MR or phase margin are not considered for the speed, because these are related to the resonance, and phase margin is never considered for the speed. Next one is resonant frequency and bandwidth. This is also, bandwidth shows the sharpness, not the speed. Damping factor or peak overshoot. Peak overshoot is the maximum value that can be obtained by the system when the system is damped, or the system when it oscillates, what is the maximum value it can obtain with respect to the final value. And damping factor is the damping factor shows how the oscillation of the system is minimized. So these are not the terms which are related to the speed of a response of a system. So the speed of response of a system is generally measured by the rise time and settling time. Next question is, pick up the false statement from the choice given below. In a three-phase balanced delta circuit, phase voltage is same as line voltage. In three-phase balanced delta circuit, phase voltage is same as the phase current is same as line current. This is false. This is false. So answer is this one, because in case first option, in three-phase balanced delta circuit, phase voltage is always equal to the line voltage. This is correct. This is correct. In case of C, in three-phase balanced star circuit, line voltage is 1.73 times phase voltage. That means root 3 times. This is 1.73 is the value of root 3, and this is root 3 times of a phase voltage. This is also correct. In a three-phase balanced star circuit, phase current is same as that of line current. This is also correct. So here answer is option B. Which of the following expansions represent a non-linear resistance? Here non-linear resistance we have to find out. So first option A, if we find out the resistance, this will be V is equal to minus 10I, and if we take further, V by I is equal to minus 10, or minus V by I is equal to plus 10. So here resistance is constant and it is linear also. Next thing, here also if we consider this one, this will be minus V by I is equal to 3. This is also constant and linear. Next thing is V is equal to I square. So this is non-linear. V is equal to I square. If we represent the resistance, because due to the resistance current is varying in terms of square of itself. So C is the correct answer, because we are not getting the linear resistor here. Application of Norton's theorem to a circuit yields. So this is the Norton's theorem. Option A, equivalent current source only, equivalent voltage source only, equivalent voltage source and impedance in series, equivalent current source and impedance in parallel. So this is equivalent current source and impedance in parallel. Next question is question number 35. In view of the figures given below, pick up the correct statement as regards representation of Thevenin's equivalent circuit. So what is the Thevenin's equivalent circuit? Here Thevenin equivalent circuit is this one, only figure 1. This one is the Thevenin's equivalent circuit. Next question is, which two network theorems exhibit duality? Duality means, suppose here is current and here will be the duality, means current and its duality is voltage, parallel and its duality will be series, like this. So now which theorem shows duality? Superposition theorem and Thevenin's theorem, never, no relation there is. Superposition theorem and Norton's theorem, there is also no relation. Thevenin's theorem and Norton's theorem, because if we convert a network to Thevenin's equivalent network, this will be like this. There will be an source impedance and there will be a source. There will be a source. There will be a source, and these are in series, voltage source, and this is source impedance. And in case of Norton's equivalent, this is like a current source and a source impedance in parallel. So these are called the duality. Next is, which design method is based on state space approach? Root locus method? Never. Option C, frequency method? Never. This is also not depending upon the state space approach. And here the last one is pole placement method. Pole placement method is the method which is related to the state space approach. An electron in the conduction band has more energy than electron in the valence band, lesser energy than the electron in the valence band, same energy as that of electron in the valence band, no energy at all. So this is, suppose this one is the energy increasing in term, this is the valence, sorry, this is the conduction band, and this is the valence band. So the electron which will be in the conduction band will always have the more energy than that of electrons in valence band, because these are in the higher energy level. So option A here is the correct answer. Question number 39. The resistivity of a semiconductor material increases as, so here what are the resistivity? So resistivity is generally of a semiconductor is given like that, is given like this. This is the resistivity. Temperature, this one is temperature and this one is resistivity, ohm centimeter. So now how we are getting? So with increase of temperature, resistivity is decreasing. So here in the question given that resistivity of a semiconductor material increases, that means we are getting that with decrease of temperature. So here answer B will be the correct answer. So we can read it again. Resistivity of a semiconductor material increases as the temperature decreases. That means at lower temperature the resistivity increases. This is due to, if we increase the temperature, there will be availability of free electron will be more, free electron or holes, and that will cause the conduction. So as the conduction increases at a higher temperature, resistance decreases or the resistivity decreases for a semiconductor material. Next question is question number 40. What is the equivalent resistance at terminal AB in the circuit shown below? So here this one is the circuit and we have to find out the resistance, equivalent resistance. I am representing this to be like this. Suppose this one, and here is another resistance, and you may be thinking that why I am representing like this, because we cannot omit this one, because you generally have come across the questions in which we have to omit that middle resistance and simply calculate by series and parallel methods, because we are getting that balanced condition of Weston bridge balanced method. That means 40 into 90 will be equal to this one, multiplication of this one, but here 40 into 90 is 3600, where this multiplication we are getting that 6000, so which is not equal and not balanced. So we have to consider the actual formula and we have to consider this delta to star or this delta to star. We have to consider this to calculate the equivalent resistance. So now I am considering this one. Suppose this one is 40 from this side, this one is C, and this one is, this point is D, this point is D, and this is 40, this one is 60 ohm. Here this one is 100, this one is also 100, and this one is 90. And so if we convert this one, if we convert this star network to a delta network, so what will happen? I am not calculating the details. So here this will be like this. Here this will be converted like, I am writing to be, here this one is 40, this one is 60, and here the star comes like this. This one is the star equivalent of that delta network. And what will be the value for this resistance? We will calculate these two, 100 into 100, that means 100 into 100 by total, that means 100 plus 100 plus 90. I am writing it to be 290, and this will be 34.5. This will be 34.5. Similarly, if we calculate, this will be 31.03, and this will be also 31.03. So now we are getting the easy network. So here these two are in series, these two are in series, and both are in parallel, and whole will be in series with 31.3. So now we can represent this one to be like this, and this one will be 40 plus 34.5, that means 74.5 ohm, and this will be 60 plus 31.03, that means 91.03, and this will be like this, 31.03. So if we calculate the series, this will be again represented like this. So this one is 31.03, and parallel combination of 74.5 and 91.03 will be equal to 40.96, and the total equivalent resistance we are getting, 71.99, that means nearly equal to 72. So here answer will be B, 72. So next question is question number 41. A charged particle is moving with a velocity u in a magnetic field V, experiences a force Fm. Which of the following statement is false? Option A, B and Fm are normal to each other. Option B, Fm depends on u. Option C, Fm can perform work. Option D, Fm is a deflecting force. So here a charge is moving with a velocity u in a magnetic field B, experiences a force Fm. So Fm is generally given like Fm vector is equal to q, that is the amount of a charge, q into u vector cross b vector. What is u vector? U vector is the velocity vector of that charge, and b is the magnetic field, vector magnetic field. So this is the cross product. As this is the cross product, Fm will be perpendicular to both u and b. Fm will be perpendicular to both u and b. So option A is given, B and Fm are normal to each other. This is correct. Answer is option. Here question is asking for which of the following statement is false. So option A is correct. Fm depends on u. Fm is the, this will be q u b in terms of magnitudes sin theta. Theta is the angle between u and b. So this will be the thing. And now Fm is depending upon the u. So this option is also correct. FM can perform work. This is not correct. This is not actually correct. And option D, FM is a deflecting force. So only this is the FM has FM, that means the force experienced by the charged in a uniform magnetic field. This will change the direction of a charged particle, but not the speed. The charge is moving in the uniform speed of u, or the velocity of u, and this force will not change the velocity of u. That means it will not cause the work to be done by that charge. So here option C is the correct answer. Next is Fm is deflecting force. F is a deflecting force because force causes the charge moves in a spiral manner. That means like this. Suppose this one is a charge and this one is the force magnetic field, and this will like this. That means the charge direction, suppose this one, and direction will be like this, and this is a 3D diagram, so I am not representing accurately, but this is a deflecting force. So here answer is option C. Next question is, in a coil having R is equal to 10 ohm and L is equal to 15 Henry, determine the energy stored in the inductor at instant when current is 10 ampere and decreasing at a rate of 5 ampere per second. So here so many things are given. R is given, L is given, rate of change of current is given, and the current is also given. So this is very simple. Energy stored at the instant is the WL, that is the energy of an inductor, is given by half Li square, and this is directly half L is given to be 15 and I square, I is 10, and this will be 10 square, that is 100 joule, and this will be 750 joule directly. We have no concerns with this one, this value, rate of change and resistance, we have no concern. Next question is, how much resistance may be connected in parallel with 2 ohm so that the equivalent resistance may be 1.2. So this is given that I am considering a resistance in parallel with 2 ohm and I am getting the resultant to be 1.2 ohm. So this will be 2 plus R is equal to 1.2, and we have to find out the R. If we find out the R will be 3 ohm. So here answer is 3 ohm. Next is, which instrument can be used for both AC and DC measurements? So moving iron type, PMMC type, dynamometer type, none of the above. So here moving iron type, I am considering the answer to be moving iron type. In videos I have already explained in so many exams that dynamometer type also used for both AC and DC, but in case of this the error is more as compared to, in terms of all errors, compared to moving iron type, dynamometer type has error more, it is having the more error. So we can consider moving iron type to be the perfect instrument for measuring both AC and DC, and dynamometer type for perfect instrument to measure power of AC or DC. So this is for power, although this can also measure voltage and current in case of both AC and DC, and PMMC always used for DC measurement. This is for DC. Question number 45, for given two-port network, the impedance parameters are given, Z11, Z12, these are given, corresponding transmission parameters of the said two port network are given to be ABCD respectively. Find the correct statement, and here we have to find out the relation between this. So I am representing first Z parameter. Please recall this one. In Z parameter we represent the output, the voltages of two ports in terms of currents, 21 Z22, and this one is the current, that means I1 and I2, these are the currents. So here when I2 is equal to 0, I am representing Z11 to be equal to V1 by I1 when I2 is equal to 0, and Z22 will be equal to minus Z22 will be equal to Z22 will be equal to V2 by I2 when I1 is equal to 0. So these are the terms. Because here only Z11 and Z22 are given, so I am not calculating all the things. Similarly, we can give ABCD parameter or transmission parameter or T parameter. ABCD parameter, here in ABCD parameter we are considering the sending end voltage and current, in terms of receiving end voltage and current, that is V2 minus I2. This is the receiving end voltage and current, and V1 and I1 is sending end voltage and current. So here we have to write all the things. So here if we write A is equal to V1 by V2 at I2 is equal to 0, and B is equal to minus V1, this is minus V1 by I2 at V2 is equal to 0. Similarly, C will be equal to I1 by V2 at I2 is equal to 0, and D will be equal to minus of I1 by I2 at V2 will be equal to 0. So these are the terms. If we find out, we have to find out Z11 is equal to V1 by I1. So if we consider A by C, what will happen? Here V2 and V2 will be cancelled out, and this will be V1 by I1, A by C. So this will be A by C, and condition is also same, I2 is equal to 0 and I2 is equal to 0. So this will be perfect, I2 is equal to 0. Now consider V2 by I2. What we can find? V2 by I2. So here consider V2 by I2. So now D by C. If we consider D by C, what will happen? I1 and I1 will be cancelled out. D by C means I1 by I2 into V2 by I1. So I1 will be cancelled out, and this will be V2 by I2, and there will be a negative sign because here there is a negative sign. So we can represent it like to be minus D by C, but here the conditions are not same. That means I2 is equal to 0 is the condition, and here V2 is equal to 0 is the condition. So we will neglect that condition, and here this answer is minus D by C. So here answer is Z11 is equal to A by C. This is correct, and here option Z22 is equal to D by C. This should be minus D by C. So option A is the correct answer. Next question is, what is the value of form factor in connection with the single phase alternating supply system? So single phase alternating system is the sinusoidal wave, and form factor is given to be RMS value by average value. And in case of sinusoidal wave, RMS value is Vm by root 2, and this is given to be 2 Vm by pi, and this is for the half wave, because in case of full wave average value will be 0 and form factor will be infinite. So this is not considered generally. So this is half wave is generally considered for the form factor calculation. So now this will be pi by 2 root 2 and the value is 1.11, and this is well known. All of the students know that the form factor of the supply system is 1.11. So here is the answer. Next question is, in a series RLC circuit, a resistance which of the following quantity attains maximum value at resonance, which of the following quantities attain maximum value? Current, voltage, power, none of the above. So here this is the plot in which current attains the maximum value at resonance. This is the resonant frequency omega naught, and this is the current, and current becomes maximum because at resonance omega L will be equal to omega C, and the reactive part of that impedance will be cancelled out, so that only resistance will be there, and this will be the only opposing to the current. So this will be, so current will be maximum. Power is also maximum because this point we tell that this is the maximum power, and this is the half power or the cutoff frequency. So now consider, if there is no resistance, that means in RLC series circuit R is equal to 0, then power will be also 0. So power is not the correct answer, current is the correct answer, because if R is also equal to 0, then current will be maximum, and that will be a short circuit condition. So here option A is the correct answer. So next question number 48. Cutoff frequency in a resonating circuit is also called as, I have already told in the previous question that cutoff frequency is also known as the half power frequency. This is the current, and this is the omega naught, that is the resonant frequency, and here this one is half power frequency. This is 1 by root 2 of this value. Suppose this value is I naught, this will be 1 by root 2 of I naught. Suppose this one is P naught, that is the maximum power, this will be 1 by root, this will be half power. That means because power is depending upon the current by square, so power will be here, this will be P naught by 2. So this is called half power frequency or 3 decibel frequency. So answer is half power frequency. Next question is, what happens to the reluctance of a magnetic circuit when an air gap is introduced to the core cross section? So here reluctance decreases. Here the air gap is introduced. Air gap introduced means air gap has more reluctance that in case of in comparison to that of iron or any magnetic material. So this will increase. So this will increase. Reluctance will increase if we introduce an air gap. Next, question number 50. A control system is indicated in the figure below. The maximum percentage overshoot for the circuit. So here this is the total transfer function, the open loop transfer function, and here I can write Gs to be 10 by S into S plus 2 and Hs to be 1. And characteristic equation 1 plus Gs Hs is equal to 0, and this will be S into S plus 2 plus 10 is equal to 0. That means S square plus 2S plus 10 is equal to 0. That means 0. This one is 0, and omega n is equal to root over of 10 to zeta omega n is equal to 2 into omega n is root 10 into zeta is equal to 2, and zeta will be 2 by 2 root 10. That means 1 by root 10. Now we have to calculate the maximum overshoot in terms of percentage. MP percentage is equal to exponential of pi zeta by 1 minus zeta square root over. So this will be into 100 because we are taking the percentage value. So this will be exponential of pi into zeta is 1 by root 10. Root 10 is also a value of pi. Pi is also equal to root 10 or 22 by 7. These are the values of pi. So I am writing it to be 1 by pi, and simply calculate 1 by root 10 or 1 by pi square. So I am writing it to be root 10 square and root over into 100, and this will be, if we calculate this one, this will be e to the power minus pi by 3, and the answer will be 35.04%. So here answer is 35%, option C. So this is the answer. So now this is the end of this section, and in the next part of the video I will solve the questions from 51. So thank you for watching it up to here, and one announcement is, if you have any question paper of your state PSU or anything, recent question paper only, you can send me or comment in the comment section that you have a question and you are not getting the solution properly from any of the sources. So you can send me so that I will solve it, and if I will able to solve it, I will comment or I will reply to you. So thank you for watching up to here.